पदां श्रवण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौरभक्तवृंद Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandat Pranams. We welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Vanamali Govinda Prabhu, and he will enlighten us on Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, 10th chapter, and text 21. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. You Venkatramana Prabhu. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Ajnanatimirandhasya. We'll start with Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatiruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So the chapter is entitled Discussion between Maharaj Rahuguna and Jad Bharat. So we recite the shloka. Drishtaha Shramaha Karmata Atmano Vai Bhartur Gantur Bhavatas Chanumanye Yatha Sato Danayana Bhavat Samula Ishto Vyavahara Margaha. Word to word meaning. Drashtaha, it is experienced by everyone.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, somehow you are muted another phone. Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Just continue reading the word to word meaning translation purport. I need to just attend one call. I'll come back just after you finish reading purport.
Okay, translation and purport na Prabhuji.
Yes, you can start from here. Anumanye, I stopped here. Word to word meaning.
Okay, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hare Krishna, let me share. Anumanye, I guess like that. Yatha, as much as. Asata, it's something that is not an actual fact. Uda, of water. Ananya, Anayana Adi, of the bringing and other such tasks. Abhavat, from the absence. Samolaha, based on evidence. Ishta, respected. Vyavahara Marga, phenomenon. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. We have said, I am not fatigued from labor. Although the soul is different from the body, there is a fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly labor for the soul. This is my conjecture. We have also said that the external behavior exhibited between the master and the servant is not factual. But although in the phenomenal world it is not factual, the products of the phenomenal world can actually affect things. That is visible and experienced. As such, even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said to be untrue. Purport. This is a discussion on impersonal Mayavada philosophy and the practical philosophy of Vaishnavas. The Mayavadi philosophy explains this phenomenal world to be false, but Vaishnava philosophers don't agree. They know that the phenomenal world is a temporary manifestation, but it is not false. A dream that we see at night is certainly false, but a horrible dream certainly affects the person seeing it. The soul's fatigue is not factual, but as long as one is immersed in the illusory bodily conception, one is affected by such false dreams. When dreaming, it is not possible to avoid the actual facts, and the conditioned soul is forced to suffer due to his dream. A water pot is made of earth and is temporary. Actually, there is no water pot. There is simply earth. However, as long as the water pot can contain water, we can use it in that way. It cannot be said to be absolutely false. Hare Krishna. We can read the once more the translation. Translation. You have said, I am not fatigued from labor. Although the soul is different from the body, there is fatigue because of bodily labor, and it appears to be the fatigue of the soul. When you are carrying the palanquin, there is certainly labor for the soul. This is my conjecture. We have also said that the external behavior exhibited between the master and the servant is not factual. But although in the phenomenal world it is not factual, the products of the phenomenal world can actually affect things. That is visible and experienced. As such, Even though material activities are impermanent, they cannot be said to be untrue. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama.
Okay, thank you, Venkatraman Reddy. Just sorry for the inconvenience. I had just one small call came. So thank you very much for assembling. We welcome all the devotees for this morning Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And today's topic, as we can see, you might be hearing about discussion between Rahuguna and Jadbharat going on. So very, very interesting, very, very applicable, lot of lessons to learn for sadhaka. So whatever I have heard from my seniors, I'll try to repeat for the pleasure of the Lordships, Shri Shri Radha Vinod, Shri Shri Jagannath Balbhadra Sudarmai, Shri Shri Nityananda Natwar Gaur Sundar. So we'll start with the prayers. Om Agyana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharyane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Vancha Kalpadabhyasya Kripa Sindhudeva Chapattanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Kam Karoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamam Manti Shri Guru Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishvara. Hare Krishna. So what we will do is, in today's topic of discussion, first we'll try to understand that what exactly is the concept which Rahuguna Maharaj, King Rahuguna is asking to Jadbharata. First we'll discuss the concept in a brief, and then we will take the discussion in both the parts. As you might have little understood, that he is asking that Jadbharat, you are telling that body is not fatigued, because as you understand, Rahuguna was telling sarcastically that, oh, you are not lifting the palanquin nicely because you are appearing to be fatigued and old. But actually Jadbharata was not old, neither he was fatigued also. He just started to carrying the palanquin. Because of the ants, he was not carrying it properly. So this concept, how to understand first what he is actually telling, we will discuss. That he is telling that no, body, even though body is fatigued, the soul also gets fatigued. And you are telling about master and servant relationship. Although it may be temporary, but the effects are real. So Prabhupada is telling about Mayavad conception and Vaishnava conception philosophy, which has some similarities and some differences. So first we will focus on that, what exactly is the topic and subject for discussion. After briefly understanding this, we will divide it into two topics, that in bhakti, we need to be overcoming our bodily consciousness, is it not? That is very, very well understood by all the practicing devotees, that we need to overcome the bodily consciousness and we have to be on the level of the soul and serving the Lord. That should be more overpowering. So that is the goal. But however, as in a practicing stage, how as a sadhaka we should not mistake our limitations, that we are having some limitations, we are sadhakas, and where we may end up doing mistakes, number one. And number two, we will discuss at the end that how to actually go ahead and cross this bodily limitation and go further ahead in the soul consciousness, which is the entire goal of our Vaishnava philosophy, our sadhana, etc. So roughly, I just gave you the skeleton of what will our discussion be in another half an hour or so. First, the concept, what the discussion is all about, what Rahuguna is asking question. Next, we will see that how we need to go above bodily consciousness, but in hurry or in impatient, what sadhakas may do mistake, and how we need to give certain importance to the material emotions and bodily consciousness which a sadhaka still has as a practitioner. And third part of our discussion, eventually, we just take some measures and discussions to finally overcome this bodily consciousness. So, starting with the concept of what the discussion is going on, yeah, as I can share one small example to highlight that what actually the discussion is by giving a Prabhupada the pastime. When Chaturmas was going on, one of the devotee asked one senior devotee who was doing kind of fasting and for Chaturmas, and he was not eating oily substance, etc. And one devotee offered Rajbhog. And when the devotee offered Rajbhog, so what happened was he was like proud enough to tell that, don't you know, I am chanting 64 rounds, Chaturmas, not eating anything oily, etc. Only sattvic food and boiled vegetables. Very proudly he made a comment. So when this devotee was little taken aback that, oh, he refused for Rajbhog very proudly, so he discussed the matter with Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada commented that, oh, that devotee missed the point. The devotee did not see Krishna in Rajbhog, and he kind of proudly acted that I am doing fasting. So what we learn from here is that, yes, we need to understand the soul of the discussion. What Prabhupada was mentioning, that he missed to see Krishna. So here Rahuguna is although understanding that we are the soul, but he is missing the point that the soul is attached to the body. So we are not attached to Raj Bhog, but we are attached to the Krishna, that it is offered to Krishna, and that essence we needed to get. Maybe he could have taken little bit as a matter of respect. So that was the missing point. So here entirely in the discussion, Rahuguna is not able to understand how the soul is actually attached to the body, and that is why it is feeling little bit tired. But soul as such can never be tired, is it not? So here in Bhurijan Prabhu's book of Japa, it is very nicely being told that actually it is the mind which covers the false ego. The subtle body is comprised of mind, intelligence, and false ego. So what the mind's function is, it actually preserves the false ego's existence and its identity, the false identity which the false ego has. The uncontrolled mind, the untrained mind tends to cover. Yes, I am a male, I am an Indian, I am an engineer, etc., etc. So this kind of function of the mind protects the function of the false ego and further causes the bondage. So it's the false ego which connects the subtle body, our gross body, to the soul. So that is the bonding factor. And when this false ego is turned into true ego, then the bond is released and the soul is fit now to go back to its journey to the spiritual world. It is mentioned in the scriptures that for non-devotees who are not able to come into the path of devotion, even one lifetime of Brahma may not be enough to completely get detached from this attachment of the soul with the subtle body and the gross body. So much so that after 100 years of Brahma, when the Jivatmas go back into the Mahavishnu's body, it is said that temporarily the soul and the subtle body are to be removed or to be separated, because still the journey is not over. The subtle body is impure, it is not completely purified. So this subtle body which is given to the Jivatma for its purification, when it is temporarily tried to be removed during the Shayana of Mahavishnu, it undergoes severe pain. Because this subtle body is like anesthesia. Anesthesia is kept for a patient so that he will not undergo any pain, is it not? But if you remove anesthesia prematurely when the surgery is still going on, imagine how much pain it will be. Similarly, this subtle body is like anesthesia, which makes the Jivatma feel kind of comfortable in this material world, that he is so and he identifies, and that is what his desire was. But when it is temporarily being tried to remove, he undergoes very much pain. Now, why it is removed, I am not sure, but this is what I had heard. What we can learn from here is that such a strong is the bondage of this false ego, that it goes for such a long time, that it is staying in the Mahavishnu. When the Jivatma goes back to Mahavishnu, it is still there. And there is a Vaishnava song which tells that so many Brahmas have come and gone, but I have still not able to go back to the spiritual world. So many asuras came and went, but I am still here, is what the prayer of the great devotees. So the extent of the bondage is what we can appreciate, and we need to purify this the subtle body, the false ego, so that the soul will be going with the purified subtle body back to spiritual world. So Prabhupada kept on telling that when a devotee asked, how many times Prabhupada you repeat that we are not the body, we are the soul? What was Prabhupada's reply? Anybody remembers when this question was asked to Prabhupada? Prabhupada, in your lectures, in your books, how many times you repeat that we are not the body, we are the soul? What
Yes,
was Prabhupada?
repeating so many times we are not able to understand the explanation.
Yeah, exactly. Venkatamana Reddy Prabhu is sharing that I will keep repeating so many times till the time you actually realize it. So that was the intensity, and Prabhupada was very clear that this is the one which is the real cause of bondage. So this kind of understanding can be very easily understood by the example of dream also. That in the dream, when we are actually going through, let's say, a horrifying experience, and we are sweating or we are fearful, and let's say the dream broke and we are in our reality awake stage, still that fear factor and the horrifying experience we carry. So that means it is not unreal. The experience of being too much afraid and being terrified in the dream is a real experience which the Jivatma is undergoing, the living entity is going. Although the dream is unreal, but the experience is real because of our attachment with the body. So that is what here precisely Rahuguna is not being able to understand. And now, having established the concept of discussion which is going on, we will see how we as a sadhaka can learn many things from this discussion, as to how we should not ignore that we are not the body prematurely, and which may itself affect our sadhana. For example, uh, suppose somebody in over enthusiasm that I am not the body, I am the soul, and doesn't take care of health. He extends in his services, he doesn't take the minimum care of the body also, taking prasadam on time, taking enough sleep, then naturally his health will go down, and the very body which is carrying the soul will not be able to progress, because he has to do devotional service with his body, is it not? So we need to be cautious in our bhakti, in our sadhana stage, that how we should give due importance to our actual state in our bhakti, and accordingly do the bhakti. Adhikar, it is said adhikar. For example, some of them asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, we will chant 64 rounds, one of the devotees. But Prabhupada did not appreciate that. He told 16 rounds, and whenever Ekadashi is there, you can chant more. But this devotee who was immature and not following, he went to Mayapur and started chanting 64 rounds daily. And finally, we saw that after 6 months, he was found in a petrol bunk. And when he was asked that, what about your 64 rounds? He told, I have completed my 16 rounds quota of this lifetime. So that is sufficient for this lifetime. So this is what is the result if we don't have a proper adhikar to do. Although chanting is very good, 64 rounds is very desirable, probably the goal. all of us, that we have to Kirtaniya Sada Hari, but under the direction of superiors, according to one's adhikar. His Holiness Jayapatak Swami Maharaj also, when he was chanting 32 rounds and more, and when he asked that what do you suggest, Srila Prabhupada, he told, if you chant extra rounds daily, then who will do preaching? He told 16 rounds and go out for preaching. So yes, we should chant more, but not that we artificially tend to take up more number of rounds without the permission and blessings of our superior, and because that may not be very effective and it will be very superficial. Like yesterday was Ekadashi and I was trying to chant extra rounds, but I can see that after some time, after a certain number of rounds, the mind doesn't cooperate; it just wanders, uh, or one may tend to feel sleepy. So we may do once. It is very good to do more number of rounds, and it is very much recommended. But it has to be done under the. If I tell my superiors I'll daily chant 64 rounds, probably that may not be permitted, because we are not still on that level. Prabhupada told, don't imitate Haridas Thakur. So, in that relation, when we have to see that we have to understand the practicalities of a sadhaka's advancement and take the guidance from the superiors. Also, we have certain material needs, material emotions, which we carry in our bhakti in the initial stage. And we need some friends to express our needs. We need some material emotions to be shared. That is why His Holiness Bhakti Vigyan Goswami Maharaj was very much emphasizing that all of you Indians are very fortunate because you have Varnashram as your backup, because your mind has been trained from the very childhood in some etiquettes and some principles which are very favorable for bhakti, unlike the West, who are not so much well trained in Varnashram system, and that is why they have a very gross need for expressing their emotions, or lack in getting trained uh, in the bhakti path, which is not completely the only factor, one of the factors. It may be exceptions may be there, but in general, he was trying to mention that how our mind is so uncontrolled, and even though we study, even as a practicing bhakta, we know that mind should be controlled by intelligence. We know that intelligence should be sharpened by reading Prabhupada books. But when the spur of moment comes, when we are so much hungry, sometimes we forget to chant the Mahaprasade Govinda mantra very nicely, devotionally, or we may just, at least myself, I have seen that I just try to run through the mantra, or even in the mind, I spell to try the mantra, not even meditating on the meaning, and just start eating the prasadam, honoring the prasadam. So we see that we have limitations. We are not on the level of soul completely, 100%. So, keeping this bodily limitations, bodily consciousness, which we are still having, we need to be little practical. We need to take care of health because the soul is inside the body, and then practice devotional service. So here, Prabhupada in the purport tells that Mayavadi philosophy and Vaishnava philosophy are different. Mayavadi philosophy tells that this all world, this manifested world, phenomenal world is false. Uh, Brahma Satya, Jagat Mithya. So they don't understand that this is not false, this is temporary. Otherwise, if we hit with a wall, we will get blood. That means the wall is real, but it is temporary. And Vaishnava philosophy is that we should utilize this temporary stage in the service of the Lord, because everything belongs to the Lord. So there is a small difference between the Vaishnava philosophy and Mayavadi philosophy, and there are small comparisons also which can be made. So the difference is that this world is not false; it is temporary. But the common thing is that yes, ultimately everything belongs to the Lord. Everything originates from there. There is nothing separate from that. Even the material world itself. Prabhupada told the microphone, if used in Krishna service, it is spiritual. Nothing, except not even one particle is material if we utilize it in, or see it in connection with Krishna. Is it not? So in that sense, we are trying to discuss that here, although Rahugana is telling that this soul appears to be fatigued, soul because the body is fatigued, or the master and servant relationship may be temporary, but its effects are real. That yes, we can see. So in that spirit, we are saying that yes, we don't ignore that. but we also remember the temporariness of this, which the Mayavadis don't understand. That although it is unreal, I mean, it is real, but it is temporary. So this the Vaishnavas very nicely understand, and that is why we are able to now discuss it in two features. That although this body is temporary, we need to understand it is real, and it has to be taken care. The health aspects should be taken care. We need to express our material emotions. Yes, currently I may be feeling sleepy in my chanting, but if a friend is there, he will wake me up and he will motivate me. Suppose I feel that no, I will go to my room and sleep for some time, but he will tell, no, no, no. Even though you are feeling sleepy, don't be on a bodily platform. Try to come and chant. At least morning program, you should not go to take rest. Maybe you can go and take rest in the afternoon, but Brahma Muhurta, morning program, you should try and chant as much as possible, unless the health is very bad. So, in that sense, he is motivating us, he is understanding us, he knows our material limitations, and this friendship will help us to slowly rise from this bodily platform to spiritual platform. We are not talking about those relationships where the friends are helping us to remain on bodily platform. Oh, yes, you also sleep and I will also sleep. No, we are not talking about that kind of friendship. We want spiritual friends who elevate us from material consciousness to spiritual consciousness. And that is what Jad Bharata is precisely doing to Rahuguna. He is elevating his consciousness from material to spiritual. So that means we will see in our further discussion how there is a need of a person, a guide, whom we can approach and we can express everything. You know? And we now understood that how the body is real, and although temporary, we need to understand our limitations and thereby progress in our bhakti, keeping the limitations in our mind. We want to overcome the bodily consciousness, but we need to certainly respect the needs of body, and in the view that it will is helping us to progress spiritually. So this is one aspect of discussion. Now coming to the other most important aspect of discussion, that how to cross over this bodily consciousness which is there since many lifetimes. It is very deep rooted, as I just mentioned in the initial stage, that so much so that it's not taken care, it may go till the end of Brahma's lifetime, many births, and finally even after coming out of Mahavishnu's body, that attachment to the body will continue to the false ego, or precisely to the subtle body. So what we need to do, we will discuss some things regarding overcoming this bodily consciousness. So the main aspect which is discussed in the scriptures in Prabhupada's purports is one has to engage in spiritual services. That is why we are thankful to Srila Prabhupada that he did not tell us to go to a jungle and chant Hare Krishna mantra 24/7, but gave us so many practical engagement. Just imagine if we were sitting and just doing bhajan underneath a tree, how many of us will be able to practice? But Prabhupada has given morning program, deity worship, preaching, so many services in coordinating festivals, going for Sankirtan, Rath Yatra, Janmashtami, etc. So many services engages our body, our senses, and thereby helping us to slowly connect to Krishna, because we have passion, and this has the facility created to engage our passion and slowly come to the rise to the spiritual platform. So engaging in services, although it may be tiring, we need to go out of our comfort zone, and we need to be in stress zone, not panic zone, which will help us to come on the platform of the soul and slowly rise on the bodily platform. Even Ekadashi, the fasting which we do on appearances and disappearances day, are very crucial to rise above the bodily level, and not to speak of engaging in chanting, hearing Bhagavatam, etc. So that means we need to work on our services, because it is easy to control body and senses, but it is difficult to control mind. So that is why it is not recommended that you go on chanting extra number of rounds, because with uncontrolled mind, that will be a fruitless endeavor, because our chanting will be inattentive. So first we need to grossly engage in physical services, to our Guru, under the guidance of our Guru, which will slowly withdraw our senses and our consciousness, our body towards Krishna, and then the mind will be more under control. So we control the mind through the senses. So this is one aspect which is very easier. Another is, yes, during our 16 rounds, we need to input some emotion. It is said very catchy. I found it that don't be lazy emotionally. I repeat, don't be lazy emotionally while chanting your Hare Krishna mantra. So, how to put emotions? Either you read something about the chanting, how glorious is chanting, and remember the moods of Vaishnava songs. Mind you, that we are not telling to actually meditate on them. We are main focus is hearing the holy name, no doubt about it. But somehow keeping that mood while chanting. Just imagine if you become very mechanical and gross and just trying to finish it, that may not help. Although the mantra is there, we may not be hearing or hearing, but if it is done with that mood, then this attentive chanting can really help us to awaken our sleeping soul and detach it from the subtle body. So, attentive chanting is considered to be the prime importance which will get us away from our bodily consciousness. Apart from following the instructions of Guru, because this inattentive chanting creates a havoc in a sadhaka's life because it is generates all the other 10 of them, and which is one of the common mistakes done also by the sadhakas as per our book Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani, where His Holiness Shivaram Swami Maharaj writes that one of the common mistakes done at the sadhaka stage is to not give enough importance to chanting, which itself is a very prominent factor which gives us determination to rise above the bodily platform. So, a laborious devotional service, Prabhupada mentions in ninth canto, I forget the exact verse number, but laborious devotional service. That is what I was telling. Coming out of comfort zone. The book distribution or deity worship or festival management, it requires good amount of labor. So when it pinches us, when we do Vaishnava Seva, it should pinch us. When we do charity, it should pinch us. It should not be done on a comfort zone. Then that will actually help us to rise above the bodily platform. And as a sadhaka, we know NOI verse that Utsaha Dhairyat Nishchaya. Yeah, we should be enthusiastic to do services. We should be determined, but at the same time, we have to not forget to put the ingredient of dhairya, patience. We should be not only patient with our subordinates whom we are preaching, or the subordinates who are serving under us, or the belongings, the dependents of us, but we should also be patient with ourselves. Sometimes we really become impatient that how many years have gone. I have not been able to chant attentively. How many years have gone, but I am not able to rise about any tangible service. That may be some thoughts which may linger and make us demotivated, feel inferiority complex. But always remember that we are trying the right thing. If you are trying to wake up, to chant and trying to do services, trying to take guidance from seniors, and in spite of doing all these things, still you may not see an apparent improvement, have patience. The process is taken nicely. Have the faith that Prabhupada's process is going to work, and that will help us to continue doing what is right and slowly and eventually rise above the bodily consciousness. So our expectations from ourselves and the others should be correct. Many a times we have wrong expectations or too many expectations, which generally tend to eventually drag us down on the bodily platform. So we should have the right expectation and one person to express, because unless we don't express our limitation, he will not guide us. As I had mentioned in my previous sessions also, that in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela, 19th chapter, Shloka number 159 and 160, his Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur tells the weeds which grow along with the Bhakti. Kutinati, Jiva Himsa, Atyachar, means what are these weeds? Name and fame, trying to be violent in terms of our speech, being duplicitous in behavior. These are the weeds which grow with the Bhakti Lata and are very difficult to identify because the color is the same. So he writes how to identify. We need the support of senior devotees. We need to report to them that what service we did, what mood we did, and they will find out what are the weeds because they are very experienced. So in our life, it is very important that many sadhakas they do services, but they don't report. They don't say that how I did, what I did, and they don't seek for a scope for improvement which a senior devotee can give. So we should always be under the jurisdiction of one senior devotee. May not be all, may not be many, but whom we feel comfortable with and express them. They will identify the weeds and they will cut off. In fact, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami tells we should identify the weeds very, very in the beginning stage because once they grow, it becomes difficult to identify. And we should try to respect all the devotees, whomever we are serving with. I have found myself lacking in this, sometimes being the leader of maybe Suratkal preaching center. Then when the services come, I become little task oriented. That oh, this person has supposed to do the service, and I am supposed to give him the service. But I don't include the respect factor sometimes in giving the service, or I take it for granted. Maybe polite words might be used, but intentionally inside the mind, I take it for granted that he is supposed to do it. But we see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, while Gundicha Marjan, he personally took the jadus and gave it to all the devotees. So, how much respect he showed to engage the devotees in the service of cleaning the Gundicha temple. So, we see that many senior devotees they very nicely follow this, giving due respect to the subordinates and not take the master role. Uh, as Rahuguna is telling that yes, this master and servant relationship be temporary, might be, but the effects are there. Because the person is master and I am the servant and I am the master, I need to execute. Otherwise, my responsibilities will be questioned. But that effect should be guarded. We should not think, like I'll give a simple example which will make it more clear. Once Srila Prabhupada was chastising the disciples who were little mismanaging the festival. Many of you might have heard the flowers were not there, the press reporters were there, and Prabhupada was shouting, and the temple president was completely fearful and very much feeling inferiority complex that he has messed it up and trying to take the Maharaj book to please Prabhupada after the festival ended and Prabhupada was going back in the room. And there also the Raj book fell down from the car and then he was feeling so much disgusted as to what things are going wrong. But finally, when he tried to submit to Prabhupada in the evening, that Prabhupada, you might be very angry. And he was seeing Prabhupada what he's doing. He might be full of anger. But he saw Prabhupada is very much casual, chanting the holy name. And when he asked Prabhupada, how about morning experience? He told, yeah, don't worry, I'm not angry. I have to teach you because I have to chastise you and grow in your Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, internally, I'm well okay and there is no issue. So there is a detachment. If Prabhupada was attached, then he would have been angry even till evening. That what people, morning people are completely untrained, how much I have told you, etc., etc., which happens with me. I carry the anger till the evening or to the next day or few more days or many, many days. But Prabhupada just did it, this responsibility without attachment and understanding that they are growing. So that is what separates us from the master feeling and induces that this relation is temporary of master and servant. At the same time, we have to do the duty. So in a detached spirit is what is the essence over here. And lastly, I would like to just end with one pastime of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, that he had a rib fracture, and in that rib fracture, he was doing deity worship on the last day. So that reminds me that how the elevated devotees, the pure devotees, they are completely aloof of bodily encumbrances. That is how their soul is completely detached from whatever the bodily identifications or material problems are. So this is the zenith. This is the topmost achievement which a sadhaka can do. That he is completely rid of his bodily consciousness. In spite of heavy problems and pain, he is able to identify on the soul platform and doing the service. So in summary, we discussed today that what is Rahuguna asking? The Rahuguna is asking to Jadabharata about the problem that we feel that the soul is also fatigued along with the body, and that is what the feeling is. Yes, we feel that we are very tired. So, is it that the soul is not really tired? How you can tell? I'm not able to understand. And the service of master and servant, although temporary, but the effects are real. So, this was the question we discussed, that how the mind is the covering of the false ego to continue identifying wrongly, and the intelligence is supposed to control the mind, but actually because we are still conditioned, in spite of reading so many times in Prabhupada's book, we don't act on that platform. And when the actually the situation, the moment of spur comes, we end up hearing our mind, and we don't act on the platform of intelligence. Is it not? I'm sure you able to understand here. So we discussed Prabhupada's pastime of that, how we forget to see the essence. That devotee who was very puffed up in Chaturmasya, he could not see Krishna. So how the soul is separate, the body is separate, but the identification due to false ego is what makes us confused that we are tired. So we need to understand in two aspects. We try to discuss that yes, we are not the body, but this body is not unreal. It is real, and we need to respect the bodily limitations and ultimately take care of the body when required to ultimately help us to progress spiritually. We discussed on the terms of health. We discussed on the terms of we need relationship. Unless we don't have friends, we will not be able to express our material emotions and slowly purify to spiritual emotions, because it takes some time to rise above the bodily consciousness. So we discussed that also, how to rise above the bodily consciousness. We saw that the laborious services, spiritual services, is what cuts off the material desire, cuts off the bondage of soul with the body. And this external feature of engaging in services is easier. And thanks to Prabhupada, who gave us so many engagements. Otherwise, to chant 64 from the day one in the initial stages is not possible. Maybe mechanically possible, but not effectively possible. So by doing services, we slowly control our mind, make it more Krishna conscious, and then we can control the mind, and we can do our sadhana much more better. And we discussed on attentive chanting. It's also very good. And don't be emotionally lazy. Try to induce the Vaishnava Acharya's mood that we are not capable, we are dependent on you, we have trust on you. So that mood, with that, when attentive chanting is done, is also very crucial in breaking this knot between the body and the soul of this false ego and subtle body. So attentive chanting is very crucial, which many of us struggle, but with patience, not to become impatient, need to be patient, because the journey is long in general. It may take time, and not only with ourselves and with subordinates. We need to be patient in executing this process and have the right expectations. So we discussed that we need a person in our life whom we can express this, to who can identify the weeds which are growing, and if possible initially itself, and cut out the weeds which grow along with bhakti. Because another thing I forgot to tell during my discussion, that when we chant inattentively, when we do offenses, which is natural with more bodily consciousness, further these weeds, this they grow, and these offenses which generate into anarthas are very very difficult to overcome, and much more difficult than when we were in the non-devotee stage. Yes, this is a little frightening, but this is what His Holiness Shivaram Maharaj writes in his book Shuddha Bhakti Chintamani, that while doing bhakti, we do offenses, and while doing that offenses, the anarthas which rise are very difficult to overcome. So we should be very careful in guarding ourselves, and to utmost our attempt, we should try to guard them, and then Krishna will surely reciprocate. But the point is, we remain careless, we carelessly continue to do inattentive chanting, offending devotees, then the things are going to be serious. And we may be temporarily removed, or the bhakti, sukruti, the the credits may be eventually lost completely. We have to start fresh. And then we finally discussed that how respecting devotees also is very important to decrease that master bhava. We discussed the example of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with his devotees while doing Gundicha Marjan, and we finally ended with the pastime of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, that this is the penultimate thing a sadhaka can achieve, that in spite of heavy bodily problems also, the soul is completely detached and he is undisturbed in his services and his remembrance of the Lord. So I pause here and I beg for forgiveness if I have told something out of my adhikar. I just tried to think that to share something practical which can be useful for all of us and for my own purification. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you very much for the opportunity given for sharing some. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for the very wonderful, even though you have given the examples of yours, but that is actually those examples are like us, like inattentive chanting, being angry for a long time, or like not identifying the weeds. And also, like, I mean, for me, the takeaway is like we have to pluck out the weeds at very early stage, and that can happen only with the help of senior devotees. And also, we need to express our limitations and what we are going through. So these are like very nicely given examples, and the way you mentioned the difference of thinking of the Mayavadis and the Vaishnavas, and also whatever Raghuram asked about the master and servant relationship, and also the soul suffering the effects of the body. So thank you very nice, Prabhuji. Sastane Prabhu mentioned, thanks for the wonderful class. Spoke like Jadavarat Maharaj. Thanks for inspiring and guiding. Thanks, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, lines are already unmuted. You can unmute and ask any questions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Yeah, I don't have any questions. Only thing is, it was there in my mind today because I was asked not to eat white rice and eat only brown rice and some Rajamudi rice and all that for some health reasons. And today, being Dwadasi, we prepare a special meal for Dwadasi. We don't use tamarind, use mango and mango rice we prepare. I was just thinking how to eat that. I cannot eat. The doctor told me not to eat and all that. Then I was just thinking, I heard you. And he said, it is, I offered it to Krishna, it is prasadam and I can take it. Like lot of tips which you told, Prabhu, practical. It was very, very nice. Thank you so much for the wonderful class. Dandavat Pranam.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for inspiring.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranams. Thanks for the wonderful class, Prabhu. Prabhu, there was a question regarding subtle body. It is produced by the external energy, no, Prabhu?
Yes,
external. And so before going back to spiritual world, one class I had heard that it should be dissolved. And another class I heard that it should be spiritualized. So how to understand, Prabhu? Which one we should understand?
Yeah, Mataji, I also had the same doubt, but I also heard many times that Prabhupada tells it is to be purified. Actually, because the subtle senses, they do remain even when we go to the spiritual world. Basically, they are spiritualized. Because in the spiritual world, the soul and the body both are spiritual. So that means the body is spiritual and that has senses, that has subtle senses which are in a purified stage. So, in my humble understanding, which what probably I would have also heard that it has to be dissolved, but you can understand that dissolved means it has the material aspect of the subtle body has to be dissolved, because in the spiritual world it is full of activities. We need senses, we need mind to work, we need intelligence to work, we need to take anxiety for Krishna. So the active phenomenon remains. So but it is on a very spiritual platform. So I feel that we have to understand that it remains, but it is a purified stage. And whenever sometimes anybody uses the word dissolved or completely destroyed, we have to understand that the material aspect of it needs to be destroyed, not that it has to be completely destroyed per se. For example, when Brahma gave up his body, in the Bhagavatam it comes when he was attracted to his daughter. So Acharyas explained that give up body means give up his contaminated subtle body and he takes up another. No, it is not that he died or he committed a suicide. So I think that is what I understand.
Thank you, Prabhu. And one more doubt I have, Prabhu. Can I ask, Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji, please.
Prabhu, regarding this sloka, Prabhu, so in the context of what we discussed today, was Jadabharata, I know it's an example to teach us, but in the material world, from that point of view, was Jadabharata acting properly, Prabhu? He was acting like a servant to the master. So, like how we should understand, Prabhu?
A very nice question, Mataji. Very thoughtful question, and that thing comes. So actually, we see the life of Jadabharata, that his father is telling him to wash hands uh, after going to clearing and coming out and taking bath and cleansing the body, but he is just doing the opposite. He's washing hands and then going, like, he's doing whatever his father is telling the opposite, and acharyas tell that he's doing so that he doesn't become attached to his near and dear ones. So yes, when first time the master told Jadbharat that why are you sarcastically? He understood that he is sarcastic, but he did not react. He continued, and he was taking care of the ants which were below. So now, as a elevated devotee, surely he doesn't want to kill the ants. And in that attempt, it is not that he wanted to carry the palanquin in a improper way, but just to protect the ants, it was becoming improper. So he wanted, but because Jadbharata, Rahuguna became angry immediately, then he had to speak. So, because when Rahuguna becomes angry, that means he agreed that you are the master and I'm accountable. So he did his best, his intentions were best, but his mood was completely in a spirit that so that he should not become attached to anything. For example, if he would have started faithfully following whatever the master tells and kill the ants, then that will also make his attachment towards the master. That, oh, now he is going to protect. So, in my full understanding, what I was trying to understand is that Jadabharata was not attached to this particular service, that he is now a servant and the master is ordering, but he is trying to do whatever best possible. At the same time, his focus is on to remain detached. So, that is my humble understanding. In case anybody wants to add something to this, you can try to add. Yes, I also had probably something that why he is not doing his duty nicely. But the main duty is to remember Krishna. And the Rahuguna was trying to exploit, he was trying to chastise because he is thinking that he is my subordinate, and without giving him respect, and sarcastically he was telling some things which is not proper on Rahuguna side also. And then we see the post sequelae that Rahuguna was completely humbled with the knowledge which he had, and he asked for forgiveness. So Rahuguna was not offended afterwards, although if initially he was offended. Does it make some sense, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhu. So I understand that at my level of consciousness, I better follow the seniors, like not in the temple, outside in my house, like doing some rituals and follow it properly. No, Prabhu?
Correct. Yes. We should not, as Prabhupada, that is why, no, we should take Prabhupada's direction, Prabhupada Lilamrit and his pastime. He did the yajna in Vrindavan temple opening so that the outsiders, the Vrindavan Vasis, will not get offended. He was very careful in making remarks in the Western countries so that people don't offend or take offense. They were asking who are the hippies. He told you people know it better. So he was very careful, very sharp. At the same time, he was very elderly. Sometimes he used to speak harsh words. But we, as practicing devotees, we should be very, very careful. And at the same time, we should not get carried away also with the outside. Like for us, brahmacharis, our seniors tell that when you are going for donor cultivation and you have to go around with rich people, don't dilute the philosophy just because he's giving donation. So there is where we take care. But at the same time, when we are preaching, when we are inside a college, and we need to take care of the rules and regulations of the college, and then accordingly do our programs. So it requires surely a mature balance under the guidance of seniors. to do it? Very practical question, I think, Mataji, you are asking.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Any other questions?
Prabhu, actually, when you cross the Vaitarani river itself, these three things will go away, they say. Like you'll be purified.
Yeah, but before crossing that, if the Jiva is not purified, then he remains in Mahavishnu's body, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there in the impurified stage, his subtle body, he remains with him, impurified subtle body, unless he doesn't completely purify. Once he crosses Vaitarani, that means he is done. He has purified it.
Then what will?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, like one question regarding this inattentive chanting. Like sometimes, like, yes, I mean, most of the times we do, or like I can say 100%, it will be inattentive chanting for me. So sometimes, like I realize, I'm doing some mistakes, and then like, I have to be strict, and then like maybe 1 or 2 days follow. Then again, like because of some laziness or because of some other unexpected activities. So again, like it becomes the parallel activities while doing the material things. I mean, other things also we chant. So that way, like it will be completely inattentive because maybe it is delegated to the tongue, but mind is somewhere else. So like how to, I mean, be aware of this thing, project, like always, and also how to be like be conscious of this basically.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Very sincere, and myself, I'm struggling. So it is a long journey. His Grace Burijan Prabhu used to tell, maybe after 40 years of chanting, I think now I can tell that I'm able to see my mind's activities and little bit bring my mind into control. So with this, we can see that it's a long journey. It is a tough journey. Chanting is not difficult, but to get mind and do attentive chanting is what it makes it difficult. So having said that, yes, this very thought and question which we keep asking, like the other day Rishi Kumar Prabhu was telling, that continuously keep thinking that I am not able to chant, I want to do better, and like this only when we leave the body, that is the perfection. So there is no end to perfection of chanting, and constant endeavor to keep it improving. But yes, what we were before and what we are today, if there is no difference, then the holy name will not be happy. When we request the holy name Harinam Prabhu, that please give your mercy, please help me to focus on your hearing you. Holy name will help, but before asking, Harinam Prabhu will ask a question. What changes did you do from your yesterday to today? Did you put any effort? Did you hear some glory of holy name before you chanted? Or did you select a better place? Or you read about the glories of the holy name? What efforts did you do? Did you sleep nicely? What are the problems which affect your attentive chanting? Did you work upon that? If we have not worked upon that, then holy name will not give the mercy. So that is what I had heard in one of the seniors class, that we need to constantly strive. As I told, we get frustrated of trying also. How much I tried. Every day I do something, but this mind is again and again going. Don't be frustrated. I told you, don't lose patience. You have to constantly try and know that at least I'm getting up early. So when you lose patience, when you get frustrated, at least give yourself some what do you call, some encouragement, that you are at least getting up morning, you are sitting for chanting, you are not going and sleeping in the bed, but the mind is not cooperating. Okay, so have patience, tolerance, and then keep focusing that what did you do, what can you improve now. You improved on 2 things, but still 3 things are pending. So that determined effort, that is what Sharanagati is. You know, the sparrow which was determined to empty the ocean, and that determined effort. Although when we are chanting, Mayadevi is laughing, ha 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 ha. Oh, Vanamali Govinda, if you think you will cross this material ocean, you will be able to cross. Just impossible. Forget your chanting effort. She is laughing. She is completely confident that this fellow, she is like that. Oh, this is a puny effort. But we as a sadhaka, we should show determined efforts. And when Krishna sees that, oh, in spite of repeatedly getting defeated, see how he's again coming and chanting. Since last 20 years, this Maya Devi has not allowed him to chant attentively. But still, on the next day, he's getting up with a hope that I will chant today attentively. Seeing that, we will surely get mercy. But yes, not that just we do it mechanically. We really try to improve by removing our mistakes and the faults. And one by one, And we need to serve the great souls like those who have good taste in chanting, like Krishnanand Prabhu comes, or Maharaji, who have either through Vani or through Vapu. That Mahat Seva will also help us to give the taste in chanting. Whatever little thoughts I had, I tried to share.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam. Thanks for wonderful realizations, Prabhu. Lots of things we learned today. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam.
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, you talked about, thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu, and very inspiring and a lot of guidance also. And it looks like, you have to go through the lecture once again to assimilate many things. And you talked about the laborious, effort in the sense in every aspect, trying to do, anxiety, take anxiety, do more and do it. So that is like pulling ourselves, little, that delta, go on adding the delta so that, at one point, our average was something below. Now, after some time, average is little higher. So that is a wonderful, this thing, Prabhu. Very, very nice. And actually, it struck me. In Tamil, they say, there is one sentence is there. Tanakku minjinadina dhanam dharmam, like that they say. So actually, it means people generally take it that whatever is in your capacity, only that much you should do dana and dharma. But actually, the meaning is you have to extend beyond your capacity to do that dana and dharma. So that is so it just struck me when you were saying. So like that, you have to pull yourself, little delta above your average so that your average itself increases to a certain limit. Thank you so much, Prabhu. That was very.
Thank you
nice.
for inspiring, Sachitani Gauru. In fact, you are also exemplary. In the Rath Yatra, when Swayam Prakash Prabhu's father's toe got injured, so he took him to the hospital and he probably missed 3/4 of the Rath Yatra and came back night. I was very inspired. Not only you helped him to get properly dressed, but you brought one devotee also. I mean, not devotee, a person from the Sagar hospital to our temple for the first time. So that is what you did, going out of your comfort zone. So you are exemplary. Thank you, Sachitanya.
Also, Prabhu was engaged at that
Please
day
do.
like kitchen activities full day.
From my side.
Morning 10 o'clock he had come. Thank you. All
Nothing
of you
from
are
my
very
side, Prabhu.
exemplary, but
All glories to
allowing me to
Govinda.
share something. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, Prabhu, we'll end the class here with Vaishnava Pranam.
Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
The good Vaishnava Vranda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev Shantai Guru. Hare Hare. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class again. And thanks all devotees. Again, we meet tomorrow.